Like, I don't know if I was like moving too fast or I needed to take a moment, but literally the universe, God, the Almighty, and all the powers conspired to sit my black ass down when I turned 30. Like, literally, I was set down. Like, I went to go ATV driving for my 30th birthday, and 5 minutes into the freaking drive, I was like, these kids were out there like zooming up and down the dunes and stuff. So I thought that I can do it. I literally tried to go uphill and I hit the pedal to the metal and I flew uphill and I got scared mid-air and I like jumped off the damn ATV and boom. And I literally didn't fracture my hip, but I like bruised it real bad where like it wasn't broken, but I think it was fractured. But no, it wasn't, because I ain't fractured the bone. I just bruised the bone so bad that like I literally was on crutches for 3 months. And I had to sit down with myself, and I had no choice but to sit down humbly with myself. And the first time in life, like I needed someone, and I felt like all my life I always, took care of me. I had me and shit. But for that time when I turned 30, I needed someone, and I needed them emotionally and physically, like to the point where I couldn't even wipe my own ass, and I needed my ex to wipe my ass for me and shower me and bathe me and get me out the shower for 3 months strong because I was in pain so bad with the crutches. I couldn't fucking move a muscle. Oh my goodness, it was the worst experience of my life. But literally from then on, like during that process, me and my ex, we were already at a rocky point in our relationship and shit. But when all that happened and I was forced to sit with self, I had come to the conclusion that I realized that that relationship was draining me, and I realized I was pouring more into it than I was receiving, and I was essentially losing myself. And so for the first time ever, your girl had to put her foot down and really be honest with myself first, and then be honest with her as well, and say like, I think that it's time that we call it quits. Like, we need time to separate. This relationship has been, too much for me. And I did. And thank goodness at the time, because, I was on crutches and stuff, so I couldn't work. I was a driver for Uber and, doing my little hustle and shit. But I could barely fucking move, so I was like without income, and, boo thing was holding it down or whatever until, we decided to part ways, and I brought my ass back home, and I just, life changed from that moment. And I don't think people talk about it enough. Like, life in your 30s, like when I turned 30, like literally my whole world came crashing down, but then I like blossomed back into this phoenix, and I came out like this fiery fucking firebird. Like, I don't even know how to explain it, but life in your 30s, like, oh my goodness. Like, first, like from there, like that was the moment I turned 30. Like I said, on my 30th birthday, we went ATV driving. I broke up with my ex. I came back home. I haven't been back home to DC in like over 6 years. So it was like a real change for me. I immediately, met up with my old friends and partied and went back into my old lifestyle. And it was like a fucking whiplash. How did I get here right now? I have no idea, because literally I'm 36, right? All right, so this is six years ago, apparently. I wrote my book when I turned 33, but like literally at that midpoint, that 33 midpoint, my life has been moved so fast. And then just, how did I get married? Oh, we will get to that. But first, let's talk about like the 3 years that build up to that. Like when I got home, that first year, 3 years of being 30. Oh my goodness. Like I said, when I turned 30, I moved back home to Washington, DC after 6 years. And then like my first year, reconnecting with friends, we hanging out, we doing shit. I ain't really dating nobody. No, I was actually dating. I was seeing someone who was like out of state. She lived in another state or whatever. We was like long distance relationship or whatever. So I was doing that for a couple of months of shit out here living a lifestyle. And then, you know, getting adjusted to back home. I started working again, working a 9 to 5. You know, like shit was just happening. Like even within my home, like being back home with my mom and my brother and my sister still live there, we did some real family healing. You know, we was having some deep ass conversation. Trauma was getting built up, so we were making some major breakthroughs and breaking those generational curses and letting it all on the floor and talking about some shit, right? You know, and life was happening. And then, you know, a whole nother year, I turned 31. Yeah, that year, life kind of, you know, I don't even remember my 31st. Well, the 30th it went around, and then year 31, shit, what was going on? Because it was such a fucking whiplash. I came home like in the summertime, I think. Oh yeah, so I turned 31, my first year home and shit. Yeah, it was cool or whatever. So that whole year went past or whatever. So technically, so we're gonna jump into when I turned 32. You know, life was going good up until then. I was going through changes. Don't judge me. In some relationships. That year I was dating somebody and shit. My crazy ass, you know. They say, you know, distance makes the heart fonder. I ended up was dating this girl for about 6 months and shit. But then my ex, Lord, it's all in my book. All of this is all in my book. But my ex had popped back up in my life and shit. So I thought it was like, you know, when you love someone, let it go. If it comes back, that's how you know. So I ended up stop fucking with the shorty that I was with to go back with my ex. I literally, you know, we met up. We hung out, we, you know, did the business. It was cool, you know, it was great or whatever. But then I woke up and I realized, like, this is not what I want. Like, nah. Like, I felt like I had moved past that. It was like, it wasn't it. And so I left her. I went back to the girl I was dealing with, you know, because her crazy ass. I was being honest. One thing, if anybody could say anything, that a girl was honest. I was always honest with through and throughout my journey and shit. I may have been fucked up, but I was always honest. And no one can, you know, not say that. I think I was, yeah. I know for sure I was always honest and shit, or whatever. But life had got crazy. I was making the wildest decisions and like, oh my goodness. Again, I was back in these streets. I was dealing with party promoters and shit. I was outside. Like, life was crazy. And I ain't saying I lost myself, but I essentially had to lose my mind and go insane to realize and come back to being insane. Like, literally, I had to lose my mind to come back to sane mind, if that's a phrase or whatever. But this shit been crazy. And I don't think people really don't talk about your 30s enough. And now that I'm 36, I'm reflecting back on all this shit and life so far in these mini chapters. You know, check out the book that I wrote about. These mini chapters and these layers and all these wonderful stories. I don't care how crazy it is, and no matter what nobody says and shit. Like, anything, I wrote about it first of all. But then secondly, like, life was cool, man, and I hope you enjoyed your journey as much as I did in the situation. But, oh man, people, they say that you go through like a midlife crisis, like in your 50s and shit, but nah, I think you literally go through this, some type of like transitional, what they call it, your Jesus year, and when you hit 33 and your transitional phase in your 30s, it's something about it. It's like, you're no longer like, of course, no teenager, but you're no longer like in your 20s where like life is YOLO, you live young and die free, like literally, like it's crazy in your 20s. But then when you hit your 30s, it's like, all right, so now when it's time to get serious and it's time to handle some shit, right? And but it's also, you still want to live carefree, but then you still need stability. But then if you haven't lived out like your passions in your 20s, the things that you wanted to do early on, and you decided to do in your 30s like I did. Well, I'm not even gonna say like I did. I think that's why I had a lot to write about in my book, because I fucking have lived life, and my 20s were great, amazing. Oh my goodness, I fucking loved the life that I've written about and built up and created for myself this fall. And so, but I still hit this point in my 30s where it was like, okay, now I had to start getting serious, you know, and I had to start laying foundation and finding foundation in my life and looking for that stability and ultimately grounding myself. Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's all about grounding yourself in your 30s. You have to start finding balance in your everyday shit. Whatever it is that you're doing and with all the things that you're creating in your life, it's all about grounding yourself and balancing it all out. And it ain't easy. And so your 30s is like this topsy-turvy fucking place where shit gets a little crazy. And I don't think it's talked about enough, like literally turning 30 and like even up to the point where I'm now 36, where it's now, okay, I'm about to be 40, but that in-between phase, those pivotal moments, it's literally, I need to stop saying literally, but it's shaping you ultimately into you. And that, I guess we hit full bloom in our 30s. But the journey of it all, I don't think it's talked about enough. It's not. And if I can give any advice to anyone that's just turning 30 or that's in that weird phase where you're no longer your old self, you're growing into who you want to be and stuff, enjoy it. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the fucking process. And let live and let flow, and flow with it. If it feels good to you and it feels right with your soul, go with it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen, right? I say. But yep, so let's continue to grow with it. And if you want to learn a little bit more about me and my journey, you can always check out my book. It's in my bio, Sade chapter 33, and I talk about turning 33 and those pivotal integral moments in our life where we shift and we shape. And I kind of hope that it helped you navigate in some way in your life. Well, I'm Chemistry, and this is My Truth Magazines presents Just Grow With It.